Well, I think a lot for me is just kind of like, what are all the things I need to make sure I'm transferring that knowledge to other folks and ensuring there's a chance to do that. I do kind of tell myself it's like I don't have to solve all that. I'll still be around if somebody needs to call me. But I do think for me, one of the big things is just making sure that my mom would have said, leave it better than you found it. And so my hope is to be able to do that and do that well on lots of different fronts. So.
Yeah. When you look back on your tenure, what sort of moments or accomplishments stand out to you? I know the accountability system was a big thing for you coming out of No Child Left Behind. What stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, certainly those early days of kind of setting a kind of a direction for where we would go coming out of No Child Left Behind was really important to me. I'd worked for years, even before that, on assessment and accountability, my time working out of the legislature and kind of continuing that thread through my career, data systems and other things that better inform education policy. I think folks get kind of wrapped up in the assessment and accountability for the purposes of at a school level, but at a state policy level, where do we make investments? How do we make a real difference in that? And I think we set a great foundation in that system. It doesn't have to always function exactly the same way. It can change a little bit, but the foundation of that work is something I'm really proud of.
What do you think the future of education looks like as we come out of the pandemic and challenges that posed for education?
Yeah, I think number one, we have to get better about engaging students and families. I think in a way that we always thought was important, quite frankly, and I think a lot of that came and is kind of almost dumped on the schools, right? How are you going to pull this off? How are you going to do that? I think the change has to be that meaningful engagement with a broader than school community around. Before and after schools have been a big push for us. That's a great space to be able to innovate in. But I think just being aware of and cognizant of what the challenges are that families might be facing and finding ways to connect that more effectively. So I think as we keep going forwards, it can't just rest with the schools doing that. I think we got to think a little more collectively about what that looks like. Coming out of the pandemic, I think it's almost really obvious. I think the solutions for it are less obvious. Like it's a tougher thing to be able to accomplish. But I think solid partnerships at a state level should also lead the way to solid partnerships at a local level, or vice versa, right? We should explore those things that are working well locally and make sure that we're able to facilitate that at a state level too.
So you've been commissioner for 8 years?
It'll be 9 officially on January 2nd. Right. Yeah, so full 9.
What will you perhaps miss the most about this job?
People, it always comes down to the people that we've worked with over the years. First of all, just a remarkable staff at the department. And again, lots of folks that I've worked with over the years. Many of the folks that were here when I started aren't here now, but I reflect fondly on what I learned from them in this. And then also the staff that are currently here are just, dedicated public servants. And I think I'll miss that. Board members, I think I worked for 19. Even though it'd be easy for me to say I won't miss board meetings, but actually in some ways, the process I love, government I love, and so the importance of that work, maybe the one big thing I'll miss kind of overall is responsibility. I have a hard time kind of imagining not being responsible for something in that same way. But at the same point, I look forward to kind of taking a step back and going, how else can I be helpful in my future career?
Tell us a little bit about what you plan on pursuing after.
Yeah, I'll be glad to. So my next steps, I'll join a group called Foresight Law and Policy. It's a pretty small consulting group. It actually started with one of the founding partners is actually a gentleman from Nebraska, and I've actually known him for years and years, going back at least 13 or 14 years. And so I'll join them as a consultant. My initial work looks like to be on a lot of federal policy, helping facilitate conversations between and among states and at a state level on things like assessment and accountability, but also on school improvement and strategies to do that. a lot of interest, I think, nationally in what Nebraska has done. And so it puts me in a very good spot to talk about what I think we learned and accomplished. And I hope I can take some of that knowledge and examples that we built here and share it there. I'm excited for kind of what I would call my policy wonk days. I kind of miss, sitting down and doing a little bit of analysis myself and going through and thinking through on those fronts. And I'll get a chance to do that again, and look forward to using that as a kind of my whatever I might miss. I'll enjoy that. I can tell you for certain.
Yeah.